to welcome all honorable members who are present in this meeting and the staff of the Portfolio Committee. You all welcome. Honorable members, without wasting our time, let me ask the Secretary to give us apologies if there are any apologies before we start our session. Mr. Muchumi.
Good morning, Chair and honorable members. The apology I've received, it's from Mr. Kwankwa. I understand Ms. Piri will also be experiencing load shedding at 10, but she is in the meeting, so she might lose connection at some point. Thanks, Chair.
Chairperson. Chair.
Is there any... Hello?
Please, hello. Good morning, Chairperson and members and staff members. I want to note to record the apology of Honorable Mautwe.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Honorable Komani. Honorable members, today we're supposed to be receiving a presentation from the Secretary, the Budgetary Review and Recommendation Report of the Portfolio Committee on Public Enterprises. We will be getting this report now. It's called BRRR report. I don't want us because it's a long presentation of which I know members received in time. They have interacted with the report, but that doesn't mean the Secretary will have to jump any area. We need that hour presentation. Let's give him an opportunity to make the presentation. Secretary, are you ready?
Yes, Chair. Let me write it.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair and honorable members. This is the budgetary review and the recommendations report for 2022, which is a midterm report that assesses the service delivery performance of the Department of Public Enterprise and State-owned enterprises, including the financial performance of the department. So this is a framework in terms of the standard report for budgetary review reports. And these reports needs to be adopted by Friday, which is the 21st. The report goes as does, Chair. The first part of the report basically deals with the legislative framework that informs this report, which is the Money Bills Amendment Procedure and Related Matters Act. And then 1.2 deals with the role or mandate of the committee, which is to oversight over state-owned companies. And then looking at the 1.3 deals with the description of the core functions of the Department of Public Enterprises, which deals with the obviously the department's a shareholder management department over state-owned enterprises that seeks to advance the strategic objectives of government as articulated in the NDP and the MTSF and also the National Growth Path, including the Industrial Policy Work Action Plan. And then 1.4, basically it's a method of the committee undertook in developing this particular report, which was engagement with the AGSA, engagement with the Financial and Fiscal Commission and the Department of Public Enterprises, and then on the annual report. Then 1.5 deals with the contents of the report, which is basically an overview of the key relevant policy focus areas, a summary of key financial performance recommendations of the committee, overview and assessment of financial performance, overview and assessment of service delivery performance, and committee recommendations. These recommendations are meant to be the ones that have been taken into account for the medium-term budget policy statement, which is scheduled for the 26th of October, 2022. Number 2, it's basically an overview of the policy environment that affects, which is international. It looks at international and national policies and how the country is performing, and some of the factors such as COVID and other risk factors that are affecting state-owned enterprises and their performances. So that is number 2. It is the analysis done by our content advisor, and I hope members have also gone through it. I'm not going to go into detail in terms of what is inside there because it's quite lengthy, Chair, but it also deals with each and every state-owned enterprise in terms of what has happened and the government cabinet decisions in terms of Iscom and other state-owned enterprises. And then in terms of 2.1, it deals with key policy focus for the Department of Public Enterprises, which hasn't changed. Basically, the department mandate is to fulfill oversight responsibilities at these companies to ensure that they contribute to the realization of a government strategic objectives as articulated in the NDP and the government's MTSF and the reimagined industrial strategy. These are just the recommendations that we made in the last financial year. They have to be part of this budgetary review report. And then number 4, it's basically an overview and assessment of the financial performance of the Department of Public Enterprises for the 2021-2022 financial year, Chair. With your permission, Chair, can I just allow Lee to spend a few minutes just to take you through the highlights of the financial performance?
Hi, afternoon, members. It was morning, I'm in the afternoon already. Yeah, so section 4 is an overview of an assessment of the financial performance. So for the 21-22 financial year, they spent 99.4% and they received an unqualified audit report for the 21-22 financial year. And then the below table just gives a comparative analysis of the last 5 years of how much they spent. So the department had an original appropriated budget of 36.3 billion at the beginning of the year, and then during the appropriated budget, they received another 2.9 billion, which gave them a final appropriation of 39.2 billion. Okay, can you go down, please, Iscom? Thanks. So for the majority of the money was spent under financial payments to financial, what is it called? Financial payments, yes. So most of it was for transfers to Iscom of 31.7 billion, and then 4.3 billion for SAA, and then the 2.9 billion for Denel. So then under 4.1, it just gives an overview of the quarterly performance of the department for the 21-22 financial year. And as you can see, they spent most of their money, and most of it in program 3 under business enhancement, transformation, industrialization, where the payments were made to the entities. Okay, can you scroll down, please? The following analysis is just per quarter analysis. Basically, it gives an overview of how the money was spent quarterly, but as stated, the majority of the money was spent in aid of the SOCs, specifically Denel. Denel received, you'll see there was a bit of an overpayment or over expenditure in quarter 2 and quarter 3, and that was in aid of Denel for their domestic term note program, which was government guaranteed, and they didn't have the money for it. So the department and treasury had to step in and give the money, which was the 2.9 billion. Okay, I won't go through each quarter. You can go to the bottom. Just scroll down, Desang, please. Down, it's further down. That's quarter 3, it's fine. Okay, just this page, yes. And then at the, that page is fine, thank you. So at the end of, just upper scroll a bit, yeah, thanks. So at the end of the year, they spent 99.4%, mostly as payments. And then for goods and services, the department spent 88.7% of their budget, and compensation of employees was 88.1%. You would notice that the vacancy rate for the 21-22 financial year was 22%. And they also gave money back to the fiscus during the adjusted budget because they said due to the vacant posts. So I think the department definitely need to keep an eye on the vacancy rate of the department. And then 4.3 is just the recommendations that the committee received from the Auditor General with regards to the department. So the department received an unqualified audit with the emphasis of matter on the following matters, which was the restatement of corresponding figures and then the contingent liabilities, which is enumerated below. Okay, then the next page, please, Desang. Then they also had findings on compliance with legislation with regards to their financial statements, which wasn't done according to the framework, and then also with regards to procurement and contract management. Then with regard to internal control deficiencies, they said that leadership didn't adequately exercise oversight over its financial performance, and that senior management did not prepare regular and accurate and complete financial and performance information. And then with regards to the entities, I just tried to give a slight overview of what the entities are doing. But as the committee knows, most of them did not submit by the 30th of September. So I just basically referred to the letters that were submitted by the Minister of Public Enterprises with regards to the lateness. If you can scroll down, Desang. So with regards to Alexco, the Minister submitted a letter dated the 7th of October stating that Alexco would not be able to submit the 2021 annual report as well as the 21-22 financial statements due to late auditing. So if you see in the third paragraph, it states there that for this financial year, the Minister submitted the letter on the 26th of September stating that Alexco would be unable to submit the 21-22 annual report due to delays in the audit process. And the Minister states what the delays were. Then if you go down to Denel, once again, this speaks to last year, 2020-21 was not submitted, and to date it's still outstanding. And then again, the Minister wrote a letter to Parliament on the 26th of September, stating that the department has made an application for funding and is waiting for the outcome before they can submit these audited financial statements. If you go to the next entity, should be Iscom or SAFCOL. Okay, SAFCOL have submitted their 21-22 financial statements. They received an unqualified audit opinion with no emphasis of matter. So this is an improvement on the previous financial year. And I just give a slight overview of what was in the AR, but we will be discussing the annual report next week. So they achieved 86% of their planned targets, while their revenue increased by 33%, and their return on equity has also improved from negative to positive, and the profit after tax has also improved to 83.6 million. So that's SAFCOL. And then Iscom, again, the Minister in a letter dated to Parliament on the 26th of September stated that Iscom will be unable to meet the due date of the 30th of September for the 21-22 financial statements. This again was due to the late auditing process because last year's audit was late, so it impacted on this year's audit. Then I just gave a financial overview of what's happening with Iscom with regards to the last year, 2020-2021 financial year. Okay, if you scroll down then to Transnet. So Transnet did submit their annual financial statements timelessly in August, and then I just gave an overview of what was discussed. Transnet did come and present the AR to the committee, so the committee is familiar with this. You can scroll down. Then South African Express Airways, they are being liquidated, so there's no AR for them in a nutshell. Okay, if you can scroll down. Then South African Airways, again in a letter dated to Parliament the 7th of October. Okay, this was for the previous financial year. Because they were in business rescue, there was no annual financial statements for 2020-21. And then similarly this year on the 30th of September 2022, the Minister stated that due to the outstanding audits And because the entities only started trading again recently, the orders have still been outstanding and they've been submitted to the AGSA to be audited. So we should be receiving all the outstanding audit reports shortly. Can you scroll down, please, Dasang? Thanks, just there. And yeah, if you can see with regards to SAA, the minister stated in the letter that the current audit will cover 4 financial years, which will be 2018-19, 19-20, 2021, and 21-22. So they were needed extra resources from the AGSA, which had to be arranged. So that is what's happening with SAA at the moment. Then 4.4.7 is just the recommendations by the Auditor General of South Africa to the committee, which was discussed last week. So his recommendations is that there's an urgent need to finalize and implement the SOE reforms that was announced by government, and that the DPE's annual performance plan must be aligned to the MTSF targets, and that failure to submit financial statements is in contravention of the PFMA and the Companies Act, and that decisive actions need to be taken against the SOCs that fail to submit financial statements. So those were the recommendations. So then 4.5 was just, okay, this is for the current financial year. What they financial performance for 22-23. So this is from 1st of April, 2022. So the department has a budget of 23.9 billion. And they spent 16.9% for the first quarter, which is April to June. And this was lower than projected because they projected to spend 21.9 billion, but this was not done because they did not disburse the money to Iscom, as Iscom was able to pay the debts from their own generated funds. So that is why they never transferred the 21.9 billion. Okay. Then most of the money spent on the transfers, and then compensation of employees and goods and services. Compensation of employees, they spent 19.6% or 34.8 million, and on goods and services, they spent 113 million or 8.9% for the first quarter. Okay, I won't go into per program, but most of it is spent in program 3. And then if looking forward at the MTF allocation, so basically what the allocation is for 23-24, currently, as it states, the allocation for the next financial year for 2023-24 is only 297.6 million, as there's no allocations for any of the entities going forward. So this will be the last year in which the entities receive funding. But nothing is allocated, but this can change. This is just projected, as it still needs to be approved by the Minister of Finance. I did request the department to submit what they are requesting for the next financial year, but I did not receive any feedback from them. So we don't know what they will be requesting from the Minister of Finance for the 2023-24 financial year. Okay, thank you. Okay, that 4.7 is just concluding comments on the financial performance. That's just a short overview of what I just stated. Thank you very much. Dasang, over to you.
Thank you, Lee. Yeah, and then number 5 basically deal with the service delivery performance for 2021-2022. So it basically deals with it's analysis done by our content advisor. He looked at the challenges facing each state-owned enterprise, and looking at what are the interventions made by government. So that's what I hope the members may manage to go into this, because it was an analysis that was made by the content advisor. So the first part deal was the NEL. Then the second part deals with Eskom in terms of the corporatization of a transmission company, and then also looking at the issue of the Electricity Regulation Act and the electricity pricing policy, which is estimated to be finalized by the end of 2022-2023 financial year. It looks at, in terms of Transnet, it looks at the corporatization of Transnet, National Ports Authority. Also for SAA, it looks at how far the department has gone in terms of the transaction of the SAA post the business rescue process. In terms of South African Forestry Company, it looks at the developments in terms of how this company has gone to ensure that it promotes Black participation in the business, and also the horizontal and vertical expansion of the business in terms of diversification of its products and businesses. And then 5.2 basically looked at performance information per program. I'm not going to go into detail because it looks at basically the annual performance plan of the Department of Public Enterprise and how they performed against that. So the table over there looks at the strategic outcomes in terms of the performance. These are informed by the performance agreement signed by the Minister of Public Enterprises, where the president, it informs the APP of the Department of Public Enterprises. So that's what the strategic institutional strategic outcomes would be. So that is included in this particular table. And then 5.3, it's also the program and sub-program performance. It looks at what are the outcomes of the department's performance in terms of what they had signed in terms of the APP. So table 5 looks at the performance of each. So it will have your outcome, your output indicator, and the annual target, and whether it was achieved or not achieved. And then program 2 is the state-owned companies governance assurance, legal assurance, risk profiling and mitigation program. And in terms of that particular performance of that particular program, they were meant to strengthen the governance system of SOCs and promote institutional alignment in the execution of the oversight function. That was they were going to ensure that there's annual evaluation of board report, and that was achieved. The one that is not achieved basically is the one that's got to do with the conducting business with SOCs, and in fact the introduction of a government shareholder management bill, which has been shifted from each financial year every year, because it's one of the not achieved targets for that particular thing. And then if we're looking at sub-program financial assessment and investment support, most of the targets there have been achieved in terms of the target that was set for the year. Program 3, business enhancement industrialization. I won't go into detail because this is some of the things are a repetition from what was in the 4th financial performance that was presented by Lee. In terms of the program performance, they were meant to increase the contribution of the SOC's support to transformation of the South African economy. It says achieved. Basically, they were supposed to be improved SOC spend locally, manufactured goods and services. And then that is how it was reported that all these targets were achieved by the Department of Public Enterprises. And then including the sub-program for energy resources. Those are the targets that the department had in terms of particular sub-program. And it seems like there's only one that has not been achieved, which shows that there are two shareholder compacts signed by Iscom and Safcol, and the rest of the other state-owned enterprises have not signed their shareholder compacts, which is a performance agreement between the Minister and Public Enterprise as a shareholder and state-owned enterprises. Sub-program 3, which is defense and transport, which Denel and SAA and Transnet falls under. It also shows that 3 shareholder compacts were not signed, which is Transnet, SAA, and Denel. If we moved to the analysis, if overflowing from the table, it basically explains the reasons and why the shareholder compacts were not signed. Where it says that the NL shareholder compact could not be concluded due to liquidity constraints, and SAA shareholder compact also not finalized. The concluding remarks, comments for the service delivery performance. There's just a short concluding remarks in terms of the corporate plan of the Department of Public Enterprises and the management of shareholder compacts. And then these are the emerging risks identified, which are also informed by the Auditor General of South Africa, who presented to the committee last week. That has been populated in that particular section. And then the service delivery and financial assessment of the department in terms of how it has moved money. But this is also informed by the financial analysis that has been done on number 4 that was presented by Lee, but it is part of the analysis that we make on the service delivery and financial assessment, linking the two. And then a summary of the reporting requests. The Auditor General reported that the department achieved an adequate unqualified audit with findings. Therefore, there are no reporting requests related to the department. And then in terms of the recommendations of the committee, I'm going to try and go into them in detail. The first one being the Minister of Public Enterprise should articulate to the committee the cost of developmental goals and public sector obligations explicitly in the department budget transfer to SOCs and in the financial statements of SOCs. Ensure that there is a balance between developmental goals and commercial mandates, which seeks to achieve profit maximization and return on the market value of equity. Develop a comprehensive modern governance framework as a critical step in improving SOC governance and performance. Strengthen the state's role as owner or shareholder through necessary political support and begging for the department to execute its mandate. Recruitment of professional staff with necessary financial, legal, and technical capabilities. Dedicated financial resources and proper monitoring and accountability for all entities. Professionalize SOCs, boards, and management through effective and transparent board nomination policies. In line with good practice, the board nomination policy should contain properly defined selection criteria, such as a minimum requirement of a degree in economics, finance, or law, business, or sector-specific experience, proven integrity and probity, and additional proficiency and stability requirement for large and complex businesses, requirements for the number of independent directors, provision for the use of open advertising and hiring of professional selection firms to shortlist candidates, delegation of the process of the centralized ownership entity or to a specialized independent body, and the development of a director's pool of pre-qualified board members. Increasingly, boards are also creating nominations committees as they become more involved in developing board skills, profile, and identifying prospective candidates for board positions. Develop a clear regulatory framework for disposal transactions as government has plans to engage in more of these transactions. Finalize and implement the SOC's reforms that have been announced by government, including Government Shareholder Management Bill and the SOE funding criteria. Ensure that the DPE's annual performance plan is aligned to the medium-term strategic framework targets of strengthening governance systems and ensuring board stability. Appreciate the failure to submit financial statements is a contravention of the PFMA and Companies Act. This further obstructs accountability and oversight processes. Decisive action should be taken against SOCs that fail to submit financial statements. Strengthen governance and accountability by ensuring shareholder compacts are concluded by the third quarter of the preceding financial year. Provide the committee with characteristics of the proposed holding company and implementation stages. provide detailed benchmarks of successful countries and a detailed SWOT analysis and a detailed business plan within the next quarter, provide the committee with a detailed strategy and outlook on the outcome indicator increase, energy availability factor to above 80% by 2024 in the next quarter. The committee notes that government will focus on, firstly, improving the performance of Eskom's existing power stations, and secondly, adding as much new generation capacity to the grid as possible and as quick as possible. 8.1.3, provide the committee with a detailed assessment of the just energy transition. This includes its impact on developmental mandates and how the Department of Eskom are going to repurpose its power plants and skills to accommodate the transition, and also how will the just transition, energy transition initiatives be funded. Present to the committee a plan on mitigating value add or emerging risks, which the Auditor General of South Africa identified regarding the department. The committee knows that the department embarked on a process to sell 51% of its shares to SAA, to a strategic equity partner. Also present to the committee SAFCO's sustainability factor matters, specifically relating to land claims and reinvestment on the Timber Dollar project within the next quarter. Present to the committee the future role and the optimal operating structure of Alexco before the end of the next quarter. Present to the committee strategies to combat economic sabotage, vandalism, and theft of economic infrastructure at Eskom and Transnet. Present to the committee the future role of the NEL, its restructuring and sustainability before the end of the next quarter. And then these are just the concluding remarks in terms of the report. Members can interrogate the recommendations and make additions for us to consider and include. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair Secretary, for that presentation. Honorable members, that is the presentation. If one needs to add and omit anything on the report, you are welcome. If you, this is our report. I note, I'm not going to take hands. Let me just randomly ask people to participate or say something. As normally. Let me start from Honorable Kumede. Honorable Kumede.
Chair. Good morning, Chair. Good morning to the members across the board and all that are on the platform. And I want to say that we note and welcome the report. It is a fair picture of what most of us will in fact understand. But I will request, Chair, that in terms of the previous recommendations, I don't know how we'll factor this. It appears that those previous recommendations are in fact work in progress. You look at them, it's not all of them that we achieved, but in certain instances, we have started doing something on them. Others is just even in the sense. But I will request that especially, is it 3.19, 11 in a sense, the point, but you call them 1.1, and the 3.119 be as well included in the current recommendations, so that at least they are not left out, because for me they've been seen critical, in as much as we need to note that they all be termed as work in progress. Yes, there are things that have been achieved, but not completely. But Chair, it is as well, I think it's been covered. It is as well critical that there are few things that whether it's the department or the SOEs that are required. In fact, it will be the strengthening of the leadership. You look at the comments by the AG, you will understand that some of the performance, you may even suspect that it was just the negligence of the people that were doing perhaps it's an internal one. In such, it may necessitate, I'm happy that that has been highlighted, it may necessitate to a certain degree the reskilling of some of the incumbents that are in such a position. But it will be critical as well for the department to tell us that if all efforts do fail, how do we plan to perhaps get funding? Because for me, that is as well critical. The other thing that's critical that most of us were all lamenting on is that I'm not sure a guiding document on the engagement of the SETs, the equity partner. We need something that will guide us so that we know that when we take this route, we are in a correct route, because it looks as if at the end of the day, many, if not all, let alone the comment by the Minister of Finance, that some may be rationalized and all that. But I'm saying what will be more important, it looks as if we may end up going for a route of an equity partner. So a document of that nature will then be critical for us to make sure that we get that guiding document and we are in a position to move forward. Otherwise, Chair, thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Kumede, or Honorable Kumede, sorry. Thank you, Honorable Kumede. Honorable Katalia.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, the report, let me make some comments. The state of our state-owned enterprises and this cannot be separated from the recommendations in the report of the committee and that we are presented with, because year after year we do this and things get worse. Now we have to acknowledge that sometime. The department's financial state is unqualified and sound, but what it oversees is in a very sad state. It achieves its planned activities, but to no particular effect. Now, in common parlance, that's called a fail. In terms of the advancement of the strategic objectives of government, even if you agree with those objectives, which I don't, many of them, but they've not been achieved. And that responsibility in large measure must go to oversight. 40 billion has been transferred to entities. but SAA has no partner. Eskom is in a dire state and takes the lion's share of that money without any prospect of real improvement. Transnet is posting losses despite the accounting measures that we are presented with, and will soon enter into the bailout sphere. Denel is bankrupt despite bailouts. Alex Co is bankrupt despite bailouts. South African Express, there are no takers to buy it. The Attorney General whose language is quite measured, so one has to ramp up that language in your understanding when it talks about the absence of financial statements, no adequate oversight over financial reporting, and extremely poor compliance with legislation. Those are damning things that we need to take cognizance of. Now, if you were, which may be an interesting task, to compare previous reports with this current report and see what is repeated and to what effect, I think we all might get a surprise, because we are doing the same thing in the same manner, expecting a different result, and we all know what that is called. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Kachalia. Honorable Komani.
Chairperson, I'm a bit challenged by the load shedding. Can you pass? I'll send my questions in writing.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Honorable. Let's go to Honorable Piri. Honorable Piri.
She's also experiencing load shedding, Chair.
Okay. Honorable Buthelezi. Prince Buthelezi.
Ag baie voorsitter, ek het niks om te sê. Dankie.
Okay, dankie. Honorable Kwangwa, do we have Honorable Kwangwa here? Oh, an apology. Okay. Honorable Dlamini.
Thanks, Chair. Morning, colleague. I have two issues. The report seems to concern itself more with how much was spent, but it doesn't really get to a point where we see returns on that type of spending. Insofar as saying after spending this amount, then this is a positive that happened post such a spend. That's one. Two, I think we must really emphasize the issue of SOEs failing to submit their reports because of a common excuse, really, that auditing is late. Reports and audits are not an accident of history. We know reports are due by this date, so audit should have happened way before that. It means someone somewhere is not doing their job. And this then questions our own oversight over the department and the department oversight over these SOEs. Someone must be held accountable for this, because you see, if we were to learn something from SAA and the previous experience, these reports were not submitted for 5 years at a time, and we are in the mess that we're in, and now with SAA. I'm a bit hopeful that one day we will get the explanation of this strategic equity partner. What's strategic about them? Now that government is still funding SAA fully. So what's the strategy? What's this strategic equity partner? Is there anything strategic about them? Thanks, Chair.
Oh, thank you, Honorable Dlamini. Honorable Isaac.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, colleagues, and thank you for the opportunity. Chairperson, yeah, lots has been said, and I assume a lot can be said. But you will recall, of course, in last week's discussion with the AG, where serious comments were made about the health and state of our state-owned companies. And obviously, I think, the situation is very frightening and realistic in that, I mean, serious exposure has resulted in terms of the way the businesses have been conducting themselves. And obviously, this is great risk. And I asked last week also, what is being done so incorrectly? And one begins to understand when financial statements for 3 and 4 years are not being presented to hold these companies accountable. And if you look at the fact that the contingent liabilities still remain also at a very frightening state. I mean, I'm not going to go into Iscom, that was discussed and mentioned. Transnet was also mentioned. I mean, Denel spent, government had to bail Denel out with some 2.9 billion over and above what it was allocated. Now, I'm not sure what transpires in the next quarter or in the next 6 months with Denel, because it is totally bankrupt, in my opinion. Yet Denel is an institution or a company with huge potential. But something is obviously very, very wrong at Denel. It has deteriorated to a situation where some concrete action really now needs to be taken. Alex Gore, again, its financial statements are late again due to the famous audit process. Iscom, my colleague, alluded to the fact it takes the lion's share, but still are absolutely non-performing. The AG recommended that these SOE reform plans really need decisive action now, Chairperson and colleagues. And the question remains, we as the committee, what are we going to do seriously in terms of our oversight regarding this tragic state of affairs? I mean, if you take public enterprise as a whole, I mean, they have underspent some 23.9 billion rand. They say they've achieved targets, but they still remain non-performing. So these are huge questions that need to be discussed. But I'll leave it there for now, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Esok. Honorable Malinga.
Thank you.
Oh. Malinga.
And everybody on the platform. Chair. Yes, Chair.
Yeah, you must. I think you are improving now. You were very bad when you started. Can you continue?
Can you hear me now, Chair?
And we can hear you loud and clear now.
Okay, I was greeting everybody on the platform. Chair, welcome the report as presented by the content advisor and the secretary. Chairperson, I am not sure because the only people who presented the BRRR was the department. Maybe I was not in the meeting where entities presented by themselves. I stand to be corrected, Chair. But mine, Chair, will be on the issue of the shareholder compact that was not signed by the minister with all the other entities, because in the report it's only 2 entities that is signed with. Also, Chair, I want to zoom into the issue of aviation. Given the fact that most flights are grounded, and SAA they had what you call aircrafts from Mango, from SA Express. I don't get the sense in the report, where are those aircrafts? Because the issue of flying to Cape Town has now become a night, not only to Cape Town, everywhere in the country has become a nightmare. Maybe maybe if we could be furnished as the portfolio committee, where are these assets? Are they still with SAA or whatever, Chair? Maybe that would be my take, Chairperson. And the turnaround plan for the department, because I don't think changing boards will give us the output that we need from the SOCs. For the SOCs to be able to deliver on their mandate, to be able to be sustainable and not dependent on the fiscal. I'm not sure if it's the right direction to always change the boards. We're changing the boards, but load shedding still persists. We need to, the department, I implore the department to zoom into the people that are in the helm at Iscom, at Transnet, at Dinel. Are they doing their work? Is their relationship, worker employee-employer relationship working and yielding the results? Because you can't have, apart from the fact that unions are on strike, asking for salary increase, you have stubborn employers who say, no, we can't give you this. And yet the economy depends on these employees to be hard at work to turn around the economic situation of South Africa, given that our economy had been hit hard during COVID and all the other years. Maybe, Chair, we need to look into that. Is it a way out to change boards in these SOCs, not zoom into this big guys who are CEOs and COOs in these companies? Chairperson, if maybe we could include that, Disang, the recommendation on SAA, the fleet of SAA, including the aircrafts of Mango, the aircrafts of SA Express, if we could get a report, where are they, given the state of the aviation in the country? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Malinga. The last person in my list is Honorable Shabalala.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning to members of Parliament. I don't know, is it me, that noise? Members of Parliament, Chair, let's welcome the work that has been done on this report. It's indeed a long report. I feel the part that was not covered, as much as it highlights the recommendations that we did last year, but it doesn't really give us what has been done in those recommendations, because we're having almost the same recommendations, like we're recycling ourselves. That's the first point. I want to agree with Honorable Dlamini and what he said around the report. Secondly, what Honorable Malinga just said around us being in a position to really put some recommendations, and I'm going to speak to those. But also, Chair, let me at once just perhaps, I don't know, it's not congratulatory, but let us be grateful on the Transnet conclusion on the 3-year wage agreement with the majority union, the UNDU. Indeed, we need a Transnet that is one, self-sustainable, self-sufficient. We need a Transnet that is able to take care of its workers. So we really thank the fact that there has been a wage agreement between themselves and the employer. Let me talk to the matter on financial, performance of the department. I think that matter what Honorable Isaac is saying, the underspending, Chair, we need to include it as part of one amending the report. Please include the matter of underspending and cite that 2 odd billions that they've not spent as a department. And for me, I find it very, very disturbing because we have entities that are fighting for its lives here to survive. They don't have capital, yet the department can go on without spending. Dinell, case in point, the department did rescue Dinell at some point. It gave it money. So what is happening now going forward? So I think that if that point can just be put, that we're not pleased, we're not happy with the fact that the department would have underspent. You know, there are budget just like compensation, wherein it's a continuous struggle for them to fill posts since we've started this term. And that is very unfortunate. We've got young people outside in this country. Lots of people, and unemployment has risen and it continues to rise. However, these departments are unable to fill vacancies. I don't understand it. So we need to highlight the underspending. We're not happy with it and cite those type of examples. And we employ the departments in the next 3 months. They should have ensured compensation and they would have filled vacancies. Perhaps we need to speak about timeframes so that we are understood properly when we take this report to Parliament. Because remember, the Speaker is the one who's going to write to the department to request its response. So perhaps we need to cite issues of timeframes. We want them to act on these matters. Second part was the issue of SAA. We have expressed ourselves on the SAA issue, including for us going further on the issue of SCP today that is deadlocked or it's in courts and so forth. We did ask the department from the start, from the word go. We said to them, can you make this process of SCP open process? So that public and everybody who's got interest to be able to participate. That was not done. Today, they're in court with ACP and somebody's challenging them and how they're appointed. And Treasury did express themselves on the matter and how the process was followed. It's almost as if when we say things are not being listened to. So I want us to be able in the BRR to express our views, Mr. Mukumi and the researcher, on the SAA. We had said if the department and the SCP doesn't come through, SAA must go back again to its majority shareholder being government. That we're very deliberate about because we have never said we don't want it. We want SAA to continue. We want SAA, as Malinga says, there's a nightmare now in the country around flying and so forth. SAA not being able to meet the demand, because it's not a secret there's a demand on SAA. Others might feel that be it the issue of aircraft is luxuries for certain class of society, for rich. It's not true. There are people who are middle class citizens who are able to use this aircraft at a reasonable price. Today, look at this Comair or Air something. They are costing so much. Someone was even telling me just to go to Eastern Cape or East London, it's costing them over 8,000 a return trip. I mean, it's a rip-off. What is happening? Primarily because we are also not ourselves, we're not looking into this matter. We are flying up and down, but we have never taken time to say, let us be able to check exactly at what rates this aircrafts are supposed to be charging our South Africans. Because there is a rip-off, because there's a lot of demand, but because of what has happened with SAA domestically, we find ourselves in this trouble. And I will move in our meeting when we do SAA, we need to deal with the issue of transportation totally in its totality, especially when it comes to air transport and Transnet. So I would move that amendment be made on the matter of SAA. The last point, Chair, on the matter of Alexcom, we had expressed ourselves to say that Alexcom, we have noted this board that just came in, but we had said this thing of boards should not be done as a retirement, because we express ourselves a concern with the chairperson of the board of Alexcom. It's not a secret that how to explain employing over 70-year-old in this country. And as I'm speaking about unemployment, we had said that that should be corrected, and the new board should come in that is expressive of our demographics and our younger country that we're having. It's not true that young people don't have skills, are not qualified, don't have experiences. They're just not being given an opportunity, and we can see it. Take it even at Iscom now, the new board. Where are you speaking about the younger people there? Because we're not talking about 35-year-olds, but there is younger people who've got engineering skills and not considered. So I'm saying for Alexco, the issue of the board should be able to be looked into, and we're giving the department as well 3 months to be able to resolve that matter and give us a younger board. Perhaps we can have people who've got energy that will sit down and resolve these problems that we're seeing in these SOEs that are continuous and they're not stopping. We're resuscitating ourselves all over and over again. At some point, this committee, we need to take a bite and agree with the point of the government. Government is the people. The people who are working for these departments are government themselves. Because when politicians, and I keep on saying it, become a change or reshuffled or so forth, new person comes in, government continues to work. When we go for recess, government continues. When we close as a parliament in December, government continues, doesn't close. So who is to be held accountable? The officials, the CEOs and CFOs and COOs, they really need to come forth. We really need to look down and say to the department, at this point, we want to understand really and how they are able to give this COO, CFO so much money and they're getting this races and so forth. And at what point are they held accountable for their incompetencies, their incapability of giving us a clean audit in this department? Those are the people we should be able to speak about as we move forward, Chairperson. But from where I'm seated, I'm okay with the BRRR report, and I would like to move for its adoption, Chairperson, in advance with its recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Shabalala. Unfortunately, Honorable Mkwanaze, I left you by mistake. Can you come, Honorable Member? Honorable Mkwanaze. Honorable Mkwanaze. Honorable Mkwanaze, I will suggest you write something down. Otherwise, your situation is very bad. We can't even hear a word. You can't even be heard at all. Can you fix or you just write it to the secretary or your recommendation or your input? We are sorry for that, honorable member. Honorable members, that is the end of the discussion. But Honorable Shabalala has recommended. Sorry.
Yeah, Ms. Komani did write on the chat, so I thought I must go through the chat so that I can just raise the views there.
Okay.
Yeah. Ms. Komani, I think she's got a network problem. She says that we note a serious point of the underspending by the department while there are SOEs struggling. The recommendation that were stated in the previous report has not been fully implemented, and we still have recommendations. How do we continue to recommend if there is no implementation? Yeah, I think she's also speaking the same issue of the recommendations being recycled and they are not being implemented. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, our task.
Chairperson,
that,
sorry,
yeah.
Shabalala, I did raise my hand, Chair, after I spoken. Excuse my brainwave. Chair, I wanted to also put in terms of our recommendation this matter of treasury. I think also the department, so that we're also being fair, continuously keeps on coming to us and telling us the frustration they have with treasury insofar as funding some of these matters, including the matter of the NEL. We need to find a way how do we put it in a report that treasury needs to come closer and really assist in the affairs of the NEL. However, the matter of understanding, definitely we have an issue with. But just to also say, you know, Honorable Konamana is raising an important issue about us being recycled, us recommending they don't get implemented. Ours is to do the same thing. And the speaker, it's us who writes. The speaker will write to the department on our behalf. Thank you so much.
Okay. That is it, honorable members. Our role is to play our oversight role, and we continue making recommendation where it's necessary. We are removing the ball from ourselves. We do our work. We make it a point that we execute our work. It's the responsibility of other role players to do their own duty also. The adoption has been recommended, has been proposed by Honorable Shabalala. Is there any second, honorable members, with amendments?
I think, Chair, let's take Honorable Mkwanazi. I think she might be able to speak.
Okay, Honorable Mkwanazi, are you ready now?
Thanks, Chair. Am I audible?
That's better, thank you. Come in.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to yourself, colleagues and officials. Chair, I've been largely covered by the honorable members, but Chair, I want to emphasize that we put the timeframes in the report. For example, the issue of the shortfall around 4,000 megawatts, that is on page 5, on the issue of Iscom. If you can emphasize on the timelines for them. Chair, I've noted that recommendations 3.11 has been also covered to the previous recommendation 3.11 has been covered to 8.110. But if we can also emphasize on the progress on that matter to be reported to the committee. And also the issue of consequence management that was in the recommendation 3.16 and 7, if that can also be included in 3.18 and 3.18 to be included in 81.7 to current recommendations 81.7, so that we can also get the progress and the issues raised there. Chair, I want to support Honorable Member Shabalala on the issues raised by AG and the issue of treasurer. I think we need to emphasize on that. Other than that, Chairperson, I want to support the move by Honorable Shabalala that will support the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mkwanazi. Honorable members, that is the end of our engagement of this report. The only thing now that is left is for us to get a directive or direction as for our oversight meeting with at Quebec on Friday. Can we get Tisang the details of how do we move?
Okay, Chair, I'm going to flight a framework that's going to inform the oversight for next week. for Friday, it will be presented by Lee. With your permission, Chairperson, can I ask Lee to just speak to it?
Okay, once again, morning to everybody. This is a framework that we, with the joint committee with the Committee of Mineral Resources and Energy, we came up with this framework with regards to the oversight for Koeberg. So the introduction is just an overview of what has transpired already, that on the 18th of April, as a joint committee, we went to Koeberg to investigate NUM's allegations with regards to the grievances at Iscom, and then to tour the facility, and then obviously receive the briefing of the electricity generation capacity. Then in paragraph 2, it just says, due to time constraints, we weren't able to finalize, and that we had a follow-up meeting with Iscom and with NUM. And that can you just go up a bit, Desang? And that the committee wasn't happy with Iscom's reply with regards to not giving the committee information with regards to the NUM issues, because they said it was being dealt with internally. And then a follow-up meeting was held on the 27th of September. So at this meeting on the 27th of September, the joint committees resolved to do a further follow-up investigation to visit Koeberg to do an in-depth investigation. So we've also discussed that as we received a letter via the House Chair with regards to the letter received from the Speaker asking the two committees to prioritize the energy crisis with regards to load shedding and the impact thereof on South Africa. The oversight visit will also be included in that report to the Speaker. Okay, so that's just giving a bit of a background of what's happening, and then why are we undertaking the oversight, and then the proposed methodology with the concurrence of the committees is that instead of just everybody asking questions, we have a more focused approach, and that through the chairs, that specific themes be given to members, and that the members ask just specifically on these specific themes with regards to the themes that we have identified below, so that we can get a more focused and more targeted responses that we're looking for, so that they can inform our oversight, and then we go there with a specific purpose, and then we get more clarity that way. So what we're saying is that the possible focus areas for the investigation, just go scroll down to some, thank you, is to look at one, the demographics at Koeberg, like with regards to the staff complement, the vacant posts, a number of employees. So that will be one of the specific target questions. And then the next one will be looking at specifically generation capacity. This is just an overview of Koeberg and how it will impact on load shedding if Koeberg is not available. Then 3.2 is to look at specifically the contract, the Fromaton contract, and how it is impacting the steam generator replacement project. So here's a possible list of questions that the member could ask. Okay, scroll further down. And then the next theme that we've highlighted is regarding obviously maintenance at Koeberg. And then these are just general questions that we can ask regarding maintenance. And then 2.5 is then questions regarding the long-term operation project, which is obviously linked to the SGR project to extend the life of Koeberg. So these 5 themes were identified, and then what we're suggesting is that through the chairs, if you agree, is that these themes be given to members so they can ask these questions, and whatever other questions are aligned to these that the members think is relevant, so that we can get a more focused and more specific answers to these questions that we're looking for. So then, what we're suggesting as the invitees is to obviously Iscom leadership, NUM to come again, and then the entities in the nuclear space. So it will be the Nuclear Energy Corporation and the Energy Regulator. In case there's any questions that comes up or they are referred to, then they are there ready to respond to anything. We don't have to wait for them to write to them to ask them what the answer is. So they are there, they hear what Iscom says, and then they can respond immediately if we need any clarity on this. Then obviously the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. And then the one that's highlighted there is the suspended SGR employees. If we're going to invite them and then have them come and just say from their side what happened with regards to SGR. Okay, and then with regards to the program, we're just saying we're doing an overview of the power station and then a walkabout and then discussions with all stakeholders in the boardroom. So this is what we suggesting the framework is for the Coburg oversight, and then and going forward, if there's any other oversights going forward with regards to the speaker's letter to us for us to prioritize the energy crisis. Yeah, so that is what we are suggesting. It's up to the committee and to the chairs to say if this is something that they will agree to, or if there's a different approach. Okay, thank you very much. Back to you, Desang.
Yeah, Desang.
Yes, Chair. So the oversight is a one-day oversight. So basically, the intention is that if the committee can leave around 7 o'clock on Friday, so that we ensure that we don't stay longer than maybe 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, so that members are able to catch their flights getting out of Cape Town if their members were traveling. So that is the intention. That's why the committee assistant has identified the time of 7 o'clock for the time to leave, so that by 8 o'clock we start on the other side.
Okay. Honorable members, that is it. Is there anyone want to say anything?
Chairperson, Chabalala here.
Hand is up.
One, I hope, okay. You want to start, Kachalia?
Doesn't matter, but my hand is up.
No.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Chair, I hope that they won't do what they did last time of frustrating members with these things of ID. So perhaps Desang, in the program, you should take us through that. What was the conversation with regards to this compliance? The next thing we were told that's a national key point, so we're subjected to giving only IDs or what have you, handing them over, all that security that they were doing with us for over an hour. That was really frustrating. So I hope with regards to security measures, we've had conversations so that we inform members in time what's required. Secondly, I see this point of inviting employees that are suspended. I don't know how we go about that and how do we even identify them, and how does that impact or have some sort of, I don't know, with regards, Chairperson, you will know better, you worked with unions before. So the issue about employer, employee, and so forth, and the disciplinary processes that are undergoing, so that it doesn't, it doesn't, our process become incredible of fact finding and getting information and so forth, and we're not seen as otherwise. Lastly, the focus points, I don't have a problem with. I do agree with the focus points. Obviously, as the researcher says, members can ask questions in this manner. It must not sound or look, remember we're live, almost as if members cannot or doesn't have capacity to raise some issues. It's okay if they've prepared for focus so that we know where we are headed, but it must also be open such that members are able to interact in their own capacity with these matters. I want to also ask the question, are we still going to do the whole day visit to Eskom head office per the program that we adopted, so that I'm reminded about it, even if this you are concluding what the speaker would have directed us to do, and we're going back again to Quebec. But I want to ask about that visit of whole day visit with Eskom. Are we still going to do that in its head offices so we can deal with more issues, not only on that one. And in your focus areas, I think, researcher, please look into the issue of nuclear. The matter when we went, the nuclear was a good program and we saw it ourselves. I think there must be some sort of a focus that you also give the discussion to the matter of nuclear, because this is just not about only load shedding and NUM issues. It must also go beyond, because that's where nuclear is based. So we want to understand where and how far we are with that program. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Kachalia.
Chair, just a nuts and bolts question. In terms of travel, I will be requiring transport from Parliament to Acacia. So if they can communicate with me about that and give me the time where I have to, and I'll tell them where to meet me, and I will meet there at 7, I believe, at Acacia. Secondly, I agree with Honourable Shabalala in terms of, this framework is fine, but we need to leave it open to ask additional questions that members wish to. And just in terms of oversight, I'm not sure what has changed from the last time we went there in terms of visual oversight. I mean, we're wanting to ask some very pertinent questions, which the researcher has laid out themes for, and we'll add on to those ourselves. And because if we arrive there at 8 o'clock and then there's lunch at, I don't know, 1 o'clock, effectively you really got a morning there. I don't know how much you can achieve that you've not done before. And particularly, as Honourable Shabalala says, another hour will be taken up with security measures. So it's I don't know how we deal with this, but your guidance will be appreciated. Thanks.
Okay. Insofar, honourable members, as the security there, we must be accepting the reality of a key point. Whether we there on oversight, everybody has to undergo this, including security, it's including your safety as a person, it's including also an appreciation of this place, that the ones coming in and out has to be known and all that. We will go through that process, but of course, we will have to appeal to them not to delay and make the process very long and all that. Because I think we raised our ill feelings previously about the manner in which the process was handled, and they do have that with them. Also, in relation to the unions, we're not going to determine for the union who must come in and must not. The union is a stakeholder, has to be represented there as it was presented. As to I don't know any person, according to the information at my disposal, unless things changed, that there is any member of the union who is actually suspended currently. The only person that I know of is a senior official that was there, whom the union was uncomfortable about his removal. He is not going to come there because he's suspended, I hope so. Because we are not there to create and havoc. We are there to listen and get facts and act and make recommendation based on the facts at our disposal. Tisang?
Yes, Chair. I've noted the input of the members, which will be taken into consideration, and also with regards to the framework, because the framework is just meant to guide the committee, but ultimately the committee is the one that decides on how it conducts its business. So we will do that. And then on the issue of the suspended employees, because it was something that was raised in the last meeting on the 27th of September, we just highlighted it. However, if the committee says that those people must not be present there, then we would communicate as thus. And then on the issue of the, we have submitted the list of the members already, and then they required the ID numbers of the members. However, I'm going to speak still with them in terms of the requirement of the ID documents. And then that will be communicated to the members prior to our departure, probably today or tomorrow, in terms of what is required for our for the compliance issues of the national key point. And then that is that, Chair.
No, we're not gonna say people must come, who must not come. There is a Labor Relations Act that governs any organization or any state entity or any employment place. There is a labor relations that determines what should happen there. All what we are going there, we're not going to interfere in that space. Therefore, we cannot say one must be present or one must not be present. It's not our space. All what we need the key hold, the stakeholders to be there so that we continue the engagement we have had already with them. Okay?
Yes, Chair. I forgot one more issue, Chair, that regarding from Ms. Chabalala regarding our visit to the
head office.
From the Escom visit to Escom head office, yes. Since we had intended that when Escom table its annual report, that must be done physically. And the fact that we're unable to have physical meetings in Parliament, one of the options would be to actually go to Escom head office and have that physical meeting there. But now Escom has not yet tabled their annual report, and maybe it's something that we should consider as a committee when we go, when they table their annual report, that we actually receive it at their head offices so that we're able to engage with them fruitfully. But at this point in time, we are implementing the decisions that were taken on the 27th of September, where the joint committee said that we must undertake these visits for the dual purpose of finalizing the complaint of NUM and also investigating the issues that the speaker said we must look at of the energy crisis in the country. Thanks, Chair.
Okay.
Chairperson, excuse me, Chair, with what Disang said, Chair, I think we must write to Escom. We're not going to wait for Escom to table whenever it wishes to do so. We've dealt with annual reports of other departments and entities and the department on its own. So I think that we need to prioritize it and tell them that we are coming. We're not going to wait for them because there's a number of issues. This issue of Escom is serious. So we need to go to Escom and give them the time frames. We're not going to wait on them. Thanks, Chair.
You got it, Dusang.
Yes, I've got that. I've got that. I'm gonna look at the day that we can go there.
Okay. Honorable members, I think that's the end of our meeting. Thank you so much for your participation, and I hope we'll meet on Friday at Acacia Park. Have you answered have you arranged for people who will be coming from Parliament, such as Kachalia?
Yes, Chair. Yandiswa will be engaging with Mr. Kachalia in terms of arranging where he will be picked up and all that. However, every member will be picked up from their residences and taken to Acacia. The reason we're using Acacia is because it's closer to the N7 and it will minimize our time on the traffic coming from town and coming from other places of residence.
Okay, no, thanks then. Sure. The honorable members, that's the end of our meeting. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair. Kachalia, I won't be in on Friday, so don't miss me too much.
Judy, behave.
I'm talking to